Hey, listeners, my name is Elisha, the founder of the Witnesses podcast. It's so beautiful to have you listening to our podcast, and I want you to know something that means a whole lot to me. Thank you for tuning in. And one thing I love to tell all of our listeners is it's not just about you listening, but listening to understand. Understanding is the most important thing, so important. So, you have to listen, learn, and practice. Thank you so very much and happy listening. Okay, so Matthieu, it's nice to meet you again. Okay, let's begin first with your introduction. Can you talk to us, tell us your name, some more important things that we've got to know about you? Alright?
Yes, thank you, Alicia. Thank you for having me on your podcast. It's really a joy to be here. And I'm going to start with going a little bit back in time. It must have been like at the age of when I was 3 years old. I had one of my earliest memories that I was like completely amazed of. I was like, how is this even possible? Was the time, because I grew up on a farm. My father is a farmer, my brother is a farmer, and I still remember the day where I realized if you can get like a small little seed and put that into the earth and make it in contact with the soil and the earth, that how crazy it is and how on earth is it possible that it can grow into a plant, even grow into a huge tree just from that tiny seed. And that was a huge trigger in my life. I think somehow it was maybe predestined, but this was like a clear message for me. Okay, I need to learn everything about nature, about how plants grow, about how is this thing actually working. Like that was my earliest fascinations. And at that time as well, I was 3 years old. I was asking my parents, I really want to start like a small vegetable garden.
How old? You said you were how old? How old were you?
3 years old. Must be between 3 and 5 years old. I'm not 100% sure, but like very, very young age. I said to my parents, I want to have my vegetable garden. So I did that, and I got some seeds, and I was growing some like radishes. It's very easy to grow radishes. I don't know if you have a vegetable garden yourself, but radishes are like one of the easiest vegetables to grow. They're also very healthy. And I had some early success with growing radishes, which was really cool. So then I thought like, okay, very easy. Now I'm gonna start seeding all kinds of other plants. And I took my garden, I put it full of all kinds of seeds, tomatoes, salads, thinking like, this is so easy growing vegetables. I'm just gonna put it full. So I thought like, okay, I'm gonna seed it. Now I can just go away and I'll come back in a couple of weeks and it will be full of all kinds of vegetables. But guess what happened? Guess what happened after 3 weeks or longer? I was maybe not looking. I came back, the whole garden was overgrown by weeds. And I was like, shit, how did this happen? Sorry for my bad English, but I was like, how is it possible? Like, I thought this was so easy. And from that, I tried to understand, like, okay, why do weeds come? And I took a whole path throughout my life, especially after I graduated in like high school. I studied landscape architecture, where I learned a lot about plants, about design. I love designing, I love creating. So I went into that. I studied also a master degree in engineering in Germany, so to become like a landscape architect. I worked for a couple of years in Germany, and then we talked about it offline already, but I thought like, okay, I have again everything figured out. I have a good degree. I was earning a good amount of money, and I thought like, okay, this is it. This is amazing. I start my job, and I'm in this job like a couple of months, and I become kind of depressed, or like, what is this? I have everything that I thought I needed. So I studied. I have a degree. I have a good job, but still, I don't feel like this is it. I feel like there's more to life. There's more to discover. I knew I wanted to have a higher impact on our planet. And from that kind of quitting my 9-to-5 job, I went out into the world. I started my own business, and I with a focus on ecology and creating gardens, and also farming and other projects that I consult to have a positive impact, make it more beautiful, just like what we discussed earlier, like actually making this planet a more beautiful place and a more healthier place, because we're all facing the difficulties of climate change. And it's like, okay, we have to change how we're actually growing food. We have to change how we do the gardens, because the old ways are not working anymore. It's too much extremes. I think in Nigeria, where you are, the climate has also a big impact, right?
It is getting interesting now. All right, it is getting interesting. So I've got some questions for you. All right, I've got some questions for you. So because gardening, it's something that it's so good, and it's another means to make the world a better place. Because if people, if they start to place more attention on plants, more attention on trees, more attention on all of this nature, I'm so sure and convinced that the world is going to be so much more in great orderliness than it is right now. So now the question is, how can we restore the health of our planet? Do you get that?
Yes, thank you for that question.
Okay.
That is probably one of the most important questions of our modern times, because we know that we've had some impact on the planet as a human race that is making life more difficult, right? And we can go into a discussion what the causes of this. Maybe it's the Industrial Revolution, maybe there's other things, maybe it's just climate's change over time. But I don't like to go into the why we have this issue. I really want to go directly into the solutions. And the solutions really are laying in focusing on how nature works. Like I said, from an early age, I tried to understand that, and I put some work into knowing or understanding better how nature works. And it's also the title of my upcoming award-winning book. It's 12 Universal Laws of Nature. How to get the most potential out of your land. So in that book, I also explain let's have a look at nature, because over the last several millions of years, nature has evolved in a certain way, according to certain laws. Now, if we can understand how the nature works, then we can use that knowledge to apply it into agricultural productions, into creating more biodiverse gardens, into actually also like on a home scale, that you can actually create a garden that is way easier to maintain. You'll have way less weeds. You need less water to maintain it if you do it with more in harmony with nature. So actually the solution, to answer your question, how to heal the planet, is actually just also to helping nature to get to its natural state, because nature will always do whatever is possible in its ability to restore itself. We don't necessarily have to help nature. But the thing is that we have had such a huge impact on the planet on a negative way, that if we don't actively help nature to speed up the regeneration process or the restoration process, that it's going to become very difficult for us as a human race to be part of that ecosystem. So it doesn't really matter, even if we don't actively engage, the planet will live on, but we're going to probably kill a lot of plants, kill a lot of animals, and probably kill our own race with it. So we're now in that situation, and we are the only animal that we know of that has the conscious awareness of, okay, look at the problem and look at what the solution are. Let's build actively to save the planet. And in a way, it's a lot about reducing things or stopping things that we are doing, and then giving space for nature to thrive. One practical solution is actually in food production, because agriculture is the biggest land usage in the world. Like, other than the oceans, farming has the biggest impact on our environment in terms of scale, in terms of land use. And if we change, just by changing a couple of things into farming, for example, like in older farming practices, and that's how we learn in school also how farming works, is we use the plow. The plow is like a machine to turn the soil completely around. But actually this has a very bad effect on the soil, because in nature you will never see, or you will hardly see, situations where the soil is completely turned around. And as it turns out, it's all linked to the soil. Everything has to do with the soil. It's the soil, the topsoil of our planet is like the skin of our own bodies. It's a layer that protects the earth. And if we start messing around too much with that, it's like you have a wound on your skin. It's not healthy. So we need to cover the soil, or the surface of the earth, as much as possible. And one way of doing that is regenerative agriculture, which is a way where you produce food, but you do it in a way with certain principles that you apply. One of which is, for example, to reduce the amount of tillage or the amount of plowing the land, and you focus more on keeping as much plants growing, living plants on the surface, because that's the next thing. How can we actually restore the health of our planet on a practical way? It has to do with carbon dioxide. There's too much carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. We need to bring it into the soil. Guess what plants do? Plants do photosynthesis, and they take carbon dioxide and they put it in the soil. Now, if you farm in that specific way, you're actually putting carbon dioxide, which, we're exhaling it. It's not necessarily something bad. It's kind of a cycle, but if we can get it from the atmosphere and put it more in the soil, and it can go very rapidly, then we can already start healing the planet very quickly. That's one way of doing it. And then I also think people on even if you have a small backyard garden, or you have if you just plant more trees and more plants and more flowers, it's also going to have a huge impact on our environment.
That's well explained. I tell you, that's well explained. Because one thing about knowledge alike is knowledge enlightens one. This stuff you just said now, I can tell you now that I have received an impact of knowledge from what you've just said. And I'm urging the listeners also not just listen to Matthieu, but also put in practice what Matthieu is teaching us and what he's telling us about. Because it's not just about knowing it, it's about actually working towards it. So important. So that's a beautiful one, and I've got another question, because I really believe that you're such an expert in this field, and it's such a great privilege to have you on the show. So we've got to get blessed by you. So important. Okay, so I've got another question. When a gardener probably quit being a gardener because he or she feels like, I am not actually doing something tangible, or it feels like a dirty job or something. And can you explain to me how a gardener can save the world or how a gardener is saving the world. Can you explain to us? Do you get that?
Yes, I definitely do. Thank you.
Okay.
So I tried to explain it already in terms of farming. Like I said, okay, if you have a garden, you will start gardening. And I'm also like, I have a masterclass where I teach people how they can actually do it on their own, because I'm also a landscape architect, and I do it for some clients. I do everything for them. Like I design it, I make sure that the contractors are coming, that everything is done for them. But I also teach people how they can actually do it on their own. Like I use them what tools to use, how to do it, how to design. And there as well, I apply as much principles as possible that are in harmony with nature. And here again, one is like, okay, if you're doing a new garden, try to minimize the soil disturbance. Like I keep going to gardens or people that have a garden, and I see them that they are like maintaining the garden by they scratch the whole soil. They have a couple of plants and then they try to get rid of the weeds, and they work the garden a lot, and it's breaking their back. But the thing is, they are disturbing the soil. So, and then the weeds go away, but the weeds keep coming back. So that's not the solution. The solution is actually on trying to use materials that cover the soils, like mulch or leaves or straw. If you can like get to a farmer that has some straw or other mulching material, and you put that in between your plants so that the soil is covered like our skin, like it has this protective layer. Then while you're doing that, you're going to reduce the maintenance of your garden. You will have to water less. Like with climate change, it's really important, because we have, even in Belgium, we had a very dry year. Well, not this year, but the year before it was very dry. And now we had some of the most rain that we ever had. Like some areas are flooding. So these extreme weather patterns, it's becoming more and more a reality. But if you do a garden in the way that I'm teaching, you will need to water less, because the plants will grow better, they will make deeper roots, they will be healthier, they will, like, if a plant can make deeper roots, there will be more humidity deeper down in the soil. So even if it becomes drier and drier, they will still find water. And then also like adding some compost to improve the quality of the soil. Like we need to get as much it's crazy, the whole world, which is like the universe of things that are happening under our feet, the earth that we are walking on. It's a crazy world of a complex system of microorganisms and insects and other animals that are very, like, they're living in a symbiosis with the soil and the plants, and they all have like a rule. So it's also very important not to use chemicals. Like I still see people using chemicals in the gardens, because like if you have a small problem, you have some insects, you spray some chemicals and the insects are gone. And it's like a quick solution, because then your problem is solved. But on the long term, you're going to make your problems bigger. Because what you do is you kill the insects, but you also kill all the other good things. It's a little bit like using antibiotics. Like if you use antibiotics for your own body, if you're very sick, you need to take antibiotics if it's life-threatening. But when you take antibiotics, you kill everything. That's the same with using chemicals in your garden. You're gonna kill every good thing as well. And we need to avoid that, because if you have a healthy soil, like, you will have healthy plants. And that's super important. Like, it's proven scientifically that one tablespoon, like a teaspoon of soil that is healthy has more microorganisms than there are people on the whole planet in one spoon. Like, it's crazy. So we need to put emphasis on helping these little creatures that we cannot see in them with our own eyes, that the healthy soil creates healthy plants, And if you're into farming or gardening for like vegetables, not only when you could produce healthy plants, you're gonna produce healthy food. Like also there, like the fruits and vegetables and even meat from animals that are in a more sustainable ecological environment, the amount of nutrients that are in the food is much higher. So you actually need to eat less because it's so much healthier. So that's a couple of ways that people can implement that in their own garden.
Okay, beautiful. That's also well explained. You know, I'm actually learning. I must confess, I'm actually learning, and that's so good. Thank you for taking your time to answer those questions in such a way that it will be so easy to understand. That's so good. Because, like I said earlier, it's not about just listening. It's also about understanding and taking action. So important. So, let's say I am a gardener, and now I'm thinking of giving up. Why? Because I feel like these stuffs are too costly. Are you getting me?
The what
These
is too
stuffs are
costly?
too costly. Yeah, the instrument, the tools to maintain my garden, all of those stuffs are so costly, and I feel like I can't do this anymore. Is there any possible way to have a low maintenance garden? You got that?
Yes.
Okay, talk to me about it.
Yes, so a low maintenance garden is definitely possible, and thank you for saying a low maintenance garden, because some people, some clients come to me and say like, I want a garden without maintenance, no maintenance, and then I tell them you can put like a plastic lawn garden, then you will have no maintenance, but it's not good, it's ugly and it's not good for the environment. So you do need to do some work in your garden. And there's several reasons for that, but it is important to reduce that amount of maintenance as well, because many people spend many hours trying to keep their garden look beautiful, but they're actually destroying it. And the more they work in it, the more they have to work again and again and again. So a low maintenance garden is definitely possible, and the beautiful news is that if it is linked to what I was explaining before, like if you do a garden that is more in harmony with with nature, by using certain techniques that improve the soil, improve the health, the plants that you are growing will be healthier, and that in fact will reduce the maintenance, because the plants that you want to have in your garden, they will grow quicker. So the plants that you don't want to have, the weeds, will have less chance to grow. Plus this technique that I explained before by using mulching, when the soil is covered, no weeds will grow. So it is definitely possible, but it's a bit tricky to generalize it. You have to be a little bit careful, because it needs a little bit more of training to understand, like, okay, when can I mulch? What plants can I grow? It's not just like you put mulch in your whole garden and then it's done. It's a little bit more complex than that, but it's definitely possible. You need to study a little bit, and then it's definitely possible. And then I think you also asked about the tools. Like there's different kind of tools, and it can become a little bit expensive. But I have only one tool that is very important for gardening. Well, there's still others that are important, but there's one tool that not many people know about, that if you have that tool, it's very easy to maintain your garden and actually build your garden as well. Yeah.
All right, good. Okay, so we have less than 6 minutes to go, and I can tell you that the knowledge that I am acquiring, and I so much know that the listeners also can tell that this is such a beautiful one. You know, this is a great enlightenment, to be sincere. Okay, so I've got a personal question for you. All right, are you ready?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So, okay, it says, how did you, how did you become so passionate about your job? How did you become so passionate about it? Because I can tell from your knowledge that you're so passionate about it. So, how did you become so passionate about it? All right.
Yes, that is a very important question because I believe that every person on this planet has the ability to find some or has the ability to find a passion in their job. And in fact, I even believe that it's kind of predestinated because look at my life. When I was 3 years old, how on earth is it possible that I became so interested about plants and gardening? It's not every child does that. So I think if people want to find their passion, oftentimes what helps is to go back to your early memories from your childhood, if that is possible, to see what was triggering your mind at that time, and then you will probably find most of the solutions. And then another good indicator is like if you work on it or if you talk about it, at least that's for myself, I can feel that I'm gaining more energy. Like I'm doing the work that I have to do, but I become energized from doing the work. I don't lose energy. Like I get to a higher energy state. That's a good indication. So to answer your question directly, how to find that passion or how I got so passionate is I think I just listened to like my inner alignment and like also listening to my heart, what I feel is true for me, and then all the solutions are there because it was not always like that. Like I said, I was in this 9-to-5 job and like objectively it looked like the right thing to do, and also let's say my parents or society would say like, yeah, it's perfect, you got a good job, a nice payment, this is good, but it was not enough or it was not for me. I had to do bigger things or other things. So I believe that when you are like in alignment with your purpose, and everybody has that, things become easy. Your life gets better, you get more income, you meet amazing people, and then like your life starts going like a train. Whereas if you don't get into that state where it's predestined already, if you get a bit off track, you'll become depressed or you will have like burnouts or other maybe even illnesses because you're not on the thing that you are meant to be doing. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. It does because the part where you said that you quit your 9-to-5 job, that was what caught my attention. That part specifically caught my attention because it shows that you were not satisfied. You are not feeling that fulfillment within you. That's why that satisfaction was not there. And the thing is, most people in the world are doing something that they aren't feeling fulfilled doing. I tell you, they are not feeling fulfilled doing. So the fact that you neglected even the pay, you neglected it and sought after your purpose, that shows that you're a good leader and you can put people through because you led by example. So that's why I'm so happy to have you on the show, and I know for sure that anyone who's going to listen to this podcast, they're going to learn from you. I'm so sure of that because there are some people actually who they've got this passion to go into gardening, farming, but they are so tied up with this job that it won't let them go, even though they don't feel fulfilled nor satisfied, but yet they're so tied up with that job. Am I going to survive? I don't even know how it's going. You understand? But it's so good that here is someone who forsook his job and went after his purpose, and is doing quite fine. And that's so good. So to round up with, what would you like to say to anyone who maybe he's still struggling with getting everything balanced. He doesn't know which way to go. Though I love to be a gardener, but I'm not so sure. What would you like to say to such person or people?
Well, I want to start off by saying, because we got about the question about passion, and I had some difficult moments in my life as well. Like when I made the decision to change, I like, and you're kind of in the depression, or it's tough, man. It's not an easy choice. But you feel like there's something more, and then if you keep following that, it's kind of this gut feeling, right? And you start making decisions that don't make sense even objectively, but you keep going towards that. And then that's a quote from Steve Jobs. He said, like, you can only connect the dots looking backwards. It's like, okay, now I'm making my own company, getting more clients, and now if I look back, it all makes sense, like my whole life story. So it's easy to look back, and even though I just started my career and I still have lots and lots of bigger goals to fulfill to actually save our planet, we're just getting started. And I have no clue how I'm going to do it exactly, but I know that I'm going to do everything in my ability to do it. And so I just want to shout out to your listeners as well, like, even if you feel it's tough, everything will be okay. Just keep moving towards the goal that you feel is true to your heart, and then persist and keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it. Don't give up, and then you will see the magic starts happening, and you will get all kinds of great opportunities from all unexpected corners, and that's highly rewarded. People that take some kind of risk in a direction that they know is true for them, not just like doing gambling or going to a casino. That's very risky, but you know that it's not a good thing, right? But if you take some risks towards a direction that you feel is right for you, then you will be rewarded very, very handsomely. So, and then specifically if people feel like they want to learn about gardening or they want to connect with me, I think in the show notes I'll put a Calendly link, and they can book a free coaching with me, and I'm happy to see how I can help them the most, even if it's for their own garden or if it's for their personal life, and we can see how we can take that from there. So that's something I want to offer to your audience for free.
That's so good. And I'm so sure that you'll be happy to embrace the offer, because you're such a knowledgeable kind. That's so good. And I'm happy that you're doing fine in your field. That's a very good thing. So thank you so very much, Matthieu. Thank you for honoring our invite and coming to the show to bless us, because I must confess I have learned a series of things. Thank you so very much for that. And I know for surety that we can invite you next time to come bless us again. Is that right?
Yes, Alicia, I'm very happy to be on your show, and I'm more than happy to come again. And I want to thank you specifically as well, because I think you're asking very good questions and you're a very good listener. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Okay, so that's going to be the end of today's show. Thank you so very much, Matthieu. And God bless you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Yes.
Thank you for tuning in to this incredible episode. Your support means the world to us, and we truly value you. We look forward to having you join us for the next episode. If you enjoyed what you heard, please consider rating and reviewing us on Apple Podcasts. Your feedback is greatly appreciated.